This is Nicole Portiller from Holistic Mental Health for Solopreneurs. I hired Adam because I needed help with taking my podcast from being a hobby to a true business strategy. By working with Adam, I've been able to rebrand and reposition my podcast for greater visibility, as well as develop a beta membership group that has 15 members and growing. The best thing about working with Adam has been quick wins and the simple way he explains exactly what I need to do next.
What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting Business School. It's the show where I teach podcasters simple strategies to help you make more money, get more clients, and build a profitable online business. What is up, Pod Pals? Today we're talking about how to rebrand your podcast name and logo. This is a podcast growth audit with my Pod Pal Sarah Dawkins coming on the show, and we do a little 30-minute session where I walk her through exactly how to use my rebranding and relaunching process. This is where a lot of my audience members, especially, you guys hear me talking about like podcast SEO and keywords and all this stuff. And sometimes you go out there and we rebrand, but we use more words that aren't keywords. Or I see a lot of that happen. We're like, oh, I need to change the name of my show, and then you change it to something that isn't quite optimal. So I love pulling people like yourselves onto the show and going, here's exactly what I recommend. So you can, in this episode, kind of be a fly on the wall as I go through my rebranding, keyword finding thought process. But that second part of the equation with the podcast art, with the show logo, a lot of you are missing out on that as well. So this is a nice little combo episode where we rebrand her name and then take a look at the logo and go, okay, here's what we actually need to do with the art as well. Because if your podcast logo is not optimized in conjunction with all the keywords that we're using and things like that, you could still be missing out on a lot of listeners. Now, if you feel like you go through this episode and you make the decision of A, you need to rebrand your show, and B, you could use some help, hit the link in the show notes or head on over to my main website, www.podcastingbusiness.school. Hit the discovery call button, and we can set up a time to chat to see if it's a good fit for me to help you out with this process. All right, let's dive on in and talk about how to rebrand your podcast name and logo with my pod pal, Sarah Dawkins. All right, we are back for another podcast growth audit. I've got my pod pal, Sarah, here with me. Sarah, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Great. Thank you, Adam.
All right, I'm excited to dive in, and I like to start these episodes by handing out some flowers. I want to tell you a few of the things that you're doing really well. I analyzed your show. I looked at the feed, looked at your episodes, looked at all the stuff, and you're doing several things really, really well. So before we kind of break into here's some improvements, I like to start off on a positive note and say, hey, you're doing some stuff really well. Number one, 151 episodes at the time that we are recording this. That is amazing. Only 5% of podcasters make it past 100. You have done that above and beyond. That is excellent. The second thing I'm loving, weekly content, consistent weekly content. I'm a huge fan of that. I feel like that's a podcasting superpower. Well done. Number three, great keyword usage in your episode titles. You are dropping keywords like a pro in every single episode. That is really going to help you. And then the fourth thing was, I really like that you number your episodes. I feel like that is a strategy that there are different sides, different opinions on that. I'm a big believer in, yes, we should be numbering our episodes within the title, but that makes the until podcast search improves a little bit. That's the easiest way for people to find our episodes quickly. So those are four things I think you're doing really, really well. So congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So I want to kick off with a question here. As a podcaster, you've got 151 episodes, Sarah. I mean, there has to be something. What is frustrating you most right now as a podcaster? I would like to address that and help you with that.
Couple of things. First of all, I try and SEO all my descriptions and key information with the chapters, as YouTube calls it. So I use AI to help me SEO that. But I've just been doing some research recently, and it's saying everybody's SEOing and people are tired of SEOing. And so they want more human. And and when I'm SEOing it reads really well. But I need to look at a different way of approaching the description and writing the key information points. And the second thing I'm looking at is organic growth. It's incredibly slow, but I am growing organically week by week, but it is very slow.
Yeah. Well, I think we can definitely help with those two things. And the good news is, like, I don't worry about YouTube. I don't think about YouTube for 1 minute of one day. Like, I don't worry about it at all because of my audio podcast SEO is going so well. So let's kind of pull that lever a little bit as far as, like, okay, I mean, the reason that I don't have to worry about YouTube or like LinkedIn or Pinterest or TikTok or any of the things is because I've cracked the code SEO wise with Apple Podcasts, Spotify as audio podcast player apps, because audio is a lot easier, I'll say it, than all the video stuff. So let's dive into a few strategies that I think will definitely help. The number one thing that I think when it comes to an audio podcast and organic discovery, SEO as an audio podcast with Apple and Spotify, the number one thing we've got is the name of our show. And we need I've got what I call my perfect podcast naming formula. So when I read the name of your show, I want to be able to say yes or be able to answer three things. Number one, I want to know exactly what the show is about. Number two, I want to know exactly who it's for. And number three, I want to see at least 2 keywords. All right. So the current title of your show is Heal Yourself with Sarah Dawkins. Okay. So do I know what it's about? I'd say, yeah, I got the general vibe of what it's about. Do I know who it's for? Absolutely not. I have no idea who this is for. So that's an issue that we can look at. And then do we have it? We have 0 keywords. The word heal isn't a keyword. So even the phrase heal yourself, like, you have to think, well, is anybody typing that into Spotify when they're looking for a podcast? Most likely not. But I think there are other things that you are doing that are really good, that are really searchable. And there's some other keywords that we could potentially lean into. So I feel like you're a candidate for a potential rebrand that we could do some really effective things. And just kind of put this out there, I like to remind podcasters that most of us have to rebrand usually within our first 100 episodes or 200 episodes at least. I've rebranded every single show I've ever launched. I've got 1,400 plus episodes in my podcasting career. Like, I've rebranded several times. We kind of figure it out eventually, or we evolve, or our audience evolves. So it's a very normal thing. A rebrand is not a failure. It's a smart move for most people. So are you open to exploring an opportunity of a title rebrand or a title extension, or working on that title a little bit? Is that something that you're even open to?
Absolutely. And I chose Heal Yourself because that's the name of my book. So I want people to know me as Heal Yourself, and think when they hear those 2 words, they think of me. I'd like to keep that if possible and add to it and change the ending. But I am open to any suggestions.
Yeah. So what you just said there, I'm glad you brought that up, because this is something I see a lot of people doing because they don't understand the power of a podcast SEO. So, example, if I were to write a book, knowing what I know, I would want to optimize it as a book. If I launch an Instagram account, I want to optimize it as an Instagram account. If I have a YouTube channel, I want to optimize it as a YouTube channel. And optimizing an SEO works differently in every medium. And people try to make it, in the name of branding, it's all got to be the same. And you optimize it for one, and everything else is terrible because it's not optimized for that platform. So I see a lot of people that are like, oh, my book is this, that's the name of my show, or my Instagram account is this, that's the name of my show, or even worse, my website is this, that's the name of my show. And they're like, and embarrassingly enough, I was one of those people. My first health podcast was the transformationcoach.me podcast. That was my website name. I'm like, oh, it makes sense. People know my website, but nobody could find it because it's unsearchable. The website is unsearchable in the podcast feed. So you can still be the heal yourself person, but we don't want to put up a barrier of your ideal fit listeners, clients, etc., finding your great content. and being able to binge listen on these 151 plus episodes. You get so much content, like it's so good. I want people to find it and binge backwards, but we're making it that leap, that journey a little bit difficult. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So what I would recommend, I've got like a little bit of a template. Like we want to lead first word keyword. All right. Like that's a really important thing, because the fact that my show is called Podcasting Business School and my most searched word by my ideal listener is the word podcasting. Usually it's podcasting tips. I mean, the fact that I show up first to the first show that they see when they search podcasting tips, that's a huge advantage. People are finding me while I sleep, which is fantastic. So we want that for you. Keyword wise, like what are some potential keywords that you think, examples would be like, and I want to get your input on this, obviously, but like just some examples would be holistic health and mind body medicine are excellent keywords. And those are two things that are in your description. Epigenetics, affirmations, like all of those, like are very, very good that I would consider. But is there anything else that you feel like I wanted to show up when they search this word? I want to show up.
Self-healing, natural self-healing.
Okay. Excellent. So like those are the types of words that we want to kick things off with. And another thing that, when I suggest this strategy, sometimes people are like, but I do so much more than, if we go with like a word like mental health, like I do so much more than just mental health. I'm like, yes, but we can't say everything that you do with a podcast name. Like what's the umbrella? What's the overarching, like I hate to put it this way, but kind of like what's the Trojan horse word? And then all your little other keywords are inside that, and they break loose within the content. The Trojan horse has to get you into someone's phone. And then the good stuff comes out once, all your little keyword warriors come spilling out the Trojan horse, and we get the victory because we overwhelm them with great content. So kind of thinking about leading with, I think I did a search for, what did I search? Mind, body, medicine. There's a lot of holistic health named podcasts, but mind, body, medicine was pulling up a lot of cool shows, but none of them were leading with that keyword. So like we could kind of stake our flag in the ground of that keyword. So something like that. I love having again, we have to say who it's for. So it could be like mind, body, medicine conversations or tips or strategies for like describe your ideal listener. Who is that person? Is it a woman? Is it a spiritual person? Is it a certain type of religion, age group? Any descriptive terms there?
I think my analytics show the age group between 35 and 65. There's two age bandings in the middle that are the listeners, predominantly ladies, but only just. And I'm not sure of. I mean, when I'm coaching, I target middle-aged, semi-professional women who are basically sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
But I don't have that in my analytics. I've just got male, female age groups, country.
Yeah. It's okay to call to your ideal client avatar. Sometimes you have to take the analytics and go, okay, if and it's almost more important. Like if the analytics aren't saying, hey, your ideal client avatar is listening, then that's a problem that we want to fix. So maybe put the analytics aside and go, who do we want to call to? Like, who do we want to send that beacon out to and bring into your world? And if that is a middle-aged, burned out female, then let's call to them. Let's see that language on your podcast art. So when they're searching mind, body, medicine, or natural healing or self-healing, they see like, oh, this is for me. Like I could have a show about online business, but the fact that I pair podcasting and business together, that content entrepreneur says, oh, this is for me. This isn't just business tips. This is business tips for podcasters. This is, so it calls that specific person. So I would consider that. And I mean, it could be as simple as something like mind, body, medicine for natural healing enthusiasts or something like, or for XYZ insert female entrepreneurs, anything like that. for
I
burned
like
out,
that.
mind body medicine for burned out female entrepreneurs, or for burned out females, or for burned out midlife females. Like any of these, like if we go mind body medicine for burned out midlife females, mind body medicine is a great leading keyword.
Yeah, I
And
like that.
then some people do search burnout. Maybe not. That's a good descriptive term, though. It's an emotional term, which I like that. But we have millennial or midlife or whatever, like that's a descriptive term. And like midlife is a great keyword.
Yeah.
So now we know what it's about, who it's for. We have at least 2 keywords. That's what I'm looking for. That's the recipe that unlocks that search bar in the 2 biggest podcast player apps with millions of people searching for your type of content. So I would consider something like that. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
And, you know, we could always tag on heal yourself in the subtitle or something like that. But I mean, I don't think it's needed. Like you can mention your book, you know, when you welcome your audience, you'd be like, hi, this is Sarah Dawkins. I'm the author of Heal Yourself. Like, boom, we just mentioned it. Now we attach that term to your name in every episode. You're known as that person. So we don't have to take care of it in the title. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
That way we're kind of covering all the bases and we're kind of cooking, we're cooking with gas now. So I like that. So I think like I said, with my experimentation that I did for about 5 minutes, mind body medicine looked pretty good for
I
me.
like that. Yeah.
One,
Because the coaching that I do is mind body, and literally what starts in the mind ends up in the body.
I like it. That's feeling pretty good to me. One suggestion with when you list it, like when you type it in your podcast host, I wouldn't connect mind and body with a hyphen.
Right.
I would have it as 2 separate words, just
Yeah.
because if you connect it with a hyphen, people have to type it with a hyphen for that keyword to work. And if you type it as 2 separate words, it'll still show up if they do use a hyphen, and it'll show up if they type it as 2 words.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
even if it feels like a little improper, it's like, okay, we just have to type it this way, and you can have it on your art. You can do whatever you want because that's not a part of the SEO. Now let's talk about the art just a little bit. Now that we got the name idea, mind body, I got to keep referencing my notes, mind body medicine for whoever we decide to call out, midlife, natural healing enthusiast, whatever. I really want the words in the text to be the star of your podcast logo. All right.
Yes.
So right now you've got a big, beautiful picture of yourself, which I love. But the words are on the smaller side of what I would want. We got to think phone screen. I know phone screens are getting giant, but there's still, somebody searches mind body medicine, there's going to be at least 8 podcasts on that phone screen. So we have to make sure your words are really easy to read. So I would have the word mind body go all the way across the screen. I'd have the word medicine as probably equally as big all the way across. And then 4, and then at the bottom, I have a little shadow box that says X, Y, and Z, a little bit smaller font, but still really easy to read. And that'll kind of create like a little angle, and then you can fit your whatever you want. There'll be a little space in there to that, probably the right side. If you left center it or whatever, then there'll be some space. And that's where we put the headshot, a microphone image, whatever. But I want it like so easy to read. And one of my favorite things to do is with that bottom part with the text, I usually pick out the descriptive terms. So if that's midlife or self-healing enthusiast, so the self-healing, I will make it a different color than anywhere else on the screen. So it really, like, that's the word that they use to describe themselves. I want them
Yeah.
to see that. I want that to pop. But just be really careful with the color that you choose. Like, don't have like dark color, like dark
Yes.
red, dark blue, or something like that. And one thing I always encourage my clients to experiment with, especially when we're developing podcast logos, we always start with a plain white or plain black or whatever they're, if they're like you've got a lot of like royal blue in your color schemes with your books and things, maybe just a plain color, just a solid color.
Yeah.
And then we can add complexity. We don't want a lot of imagery that distracts from the words. I'm a big fan of that. I'm like a minimalist. All my creative people really tend to like, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard to the creative people, like, but I want to get so artsy. I'm like, listen, just it's like a 2-leg relay race. The keywords get us the first leg, the baton gets passed to our art, their finger is hovering. I want them to click on your art and subscribe to your show. Then we release the creativity kraken. We let that thing go. But we got to get them there. And that's the keywords and then the art. And that's the tag team. So yeah, I think if we go with mind, body, medicine, big, thick, easy to read font, mind, body, medicine for self-healing enthusiasts, midlife self-healing enthusiasts, midlife women, whatever we go with, and highlight one of those words in a different color, put that nice image of you in the open space. We got some killer art, and that's going to convert for you. So how is that feeling? Any questions on that?
No, I love that. And I was thinking actually the other day that in fact, this past couple of months, I've been looking at different designs for my logo because I feel it's a bit needed updating. But I've played with a few designs, but I need a new photograph of myself because that photo is about 5 years old now when I've changed a little bit. And B, I wanted to tweak the colors because I love teal. I really do love that color. My books are a royal and darker blue, so I think I need to just tweak my palette.
Yeah. And then we can have fun with it. And, and the other thing is, and I don't know if you would do this or not, but we don't have to put your name in
No,
the title of the
absolutely.
show or on the art, because it'll be listed as the author in every single podcast player app. So it'll be there already.
Yes.
So we don't have to waste any real estate on that.
No,
It's redundant.
absolutely.
Now, if you were like a highly searched public speaker or something like that, then yeah, let's put the name on there for name recognition. Or if it's then it becomes an SEO thing. But I'm not like that. It doesn't seem like you're like that, so we don't need to worry about that, and it'll be up there. Okay, so I think that is going to really help a ton with the SEO, with the organic discovery. The other quick SEO lever that we can pull is in your host description. So your host description is like the blurb about your show.
Yeah.
And so I'm not talking about, just to clarify, I'm not talking about your episode notes, individual episode notes. I'm talking about the description of the show.
Yes.
What I want is a 2-paragraph strategy. All right. In the what I want you to do, first paragraph, kind of what you got, just maybe tweak it a little bit, maybe make it a little bit more robust, but just about you, about the show. What can people expect? Just write that out and then go back and go, how do I get every single keyword in this thing? Like how can I name drop mind, body, medicine, self-healing, midlife women, like midlife female entrepreneurs? I want all the words in this paragraph. Just go back. And this is not keyword stuffing. This is not an illegal thing. It's just like, okay, we're effectively calling to those people again. As if they're searching those terms, I want your show in front of them. Okay. So that is paragraph number 1. Then I want a transition sentence that says, this podcast is for you if you find yourself asking questions such as, then we're going to list at least 5, I prefer 10, what I call Google questions. So we're going to go to Google. You can also go to ChatGPT or whatever AI you prefer, or both. I recommend, kind of doing both at this point. But I would start with Google and type in one of the questions that you feel like your ideal client profile is asking Google. So like, what do you have an example of, like, your ideal client profile? They go to Google, they're looking for help with something. Like, what type of question are they going to type in Google?
How can I relieve anxiety? How can I sleep better? How can I overcome wakeful nights?
Yes.
How can I stop waking up at night?
Yes, all these things. And we put that in there. And I'd probably add like a little avatar keyword, like, how do I relieve anxiety as a woman in midlife? And put that in there and see what Google spits out. Because what Google will say, they'll answer the question, but then Google recommends, they go, oh, people also ask these questions. And we're going to copy and paste all of those in the exact Google verbiage, because that's telling you people are searching these exact words. And I want those exact words to show up in your podcast description, because when people search those words, guess whose content is going to start popping up? Yours, because you have it in the description. It's in that SEO vortex that we want to be a part of. So, and then do the same thing with Chat GPT and just what other questions would this person be asking? And then that way we're kind of covering both bases, and we just list as many of them as we've got. And one thing that I do, once I've got a little note on my calendar, getting ready to do this here at the end of the year. At the end of each quarter, I just do a little review of my host description. I go, okay, are there any new keywords that I need to get in here? Do I want to change any questions? Do I need to add some questions? And just do little micro updates, hit save, and it updates instantly across every podcast player platform. You don't have to, it's not like you're rebranding. Most of your audience members never even read the host description. It's just SEO. Like
Right.
behind the name of the show. This is the most SEO powerful thing that we have. It's even more than your episode titles, is your host
Right.
description.
Yeah.
So getting this dialed in and robust, it's really going to help. So 2 paragraphs, paragraph 1 about you, about the show, lots of keywords, transition sentence that shows for you if you find yourself asking questions such as list 10 or so Chat GPT / Google style questions with that exact verbiage. So when people search that, they're getting your content in front of them. And bonus is, you don't have to do this with every episode, but every few episodes, I would use one of those Google Chat GPT verbiage questions as the episode title, because that way that episode specifically will start popping up. Like if you can nail, Google is still a thing, and that's a very
Yes.
powerful thing. So if somebody Googles that question, especially if it's like, oh my gosh, this is the number one, and you put it in question format in the episode title with a question mark, I really think, I've done that. I've seen a definite spike in those episodes. You can even go back and test this. You've got 151 episodes. Go back and change a few of those episode titles. It won't mess up the order or anything. And I bet you do that. I bet you see an uptick in
Right.
the downloads. So something to think about. Any questions on that strategy?
Now, I was just going to say, interestingly, I send a guest form out to everybody that I accept through an interview to become a guest on my show. And I ask them what they would like to call their episode. And 9.9 times out of 10, I just copy and paste what they want as their title. And I have thought about it before, is this SEO'd enough? I know it's what they want, but does it really say what they're talking about, what they're showing up as? So I don't always feel that it's right for me to tweak it. Sometimes they don't put a title, in which case I will ask for, I'll go on the internet and ask AI for an SEO title for it. It'll come up with some fabulous ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm asking them what they want for the title, then I'm not putting SEO words in more often than not.
What I would suggest, and this is a very polite thing of you, I'm very proud of you. This is very nice of you to do. But it's unnecessary. I'll put it out there. I've never asked anyone this. Like, this isn't a normal, this isn't like, to be a proper podcaster, you must do this or anything like that. So you're not breaking any rules by not doing this. You're actually going above and beyond. It's very nice, very polite. I would change the question to, are there any highly searched keywords in your niche that you think would be really important to get in the title of our episode? So don't let them name it. Let them help you figure out the keywords that we need to be leveraging. And
Yes.
let's find the name that you like, that is SEO friendly, and we're using a keyword that they suggested, as long as it makes sense for the episode, as long as we talk about it.
Yeah.
That's how we find that sweet spot. So I would make that little tweak in the onboarding, the question. And I think that way you still have full license to name it whatever you want. And and they won't remember anyway. Like if they're not going to be like, I told you to use the keyword blah blah blah, and that keyword wasn't even in there. And you go, well, we didn't really focus on that. We focused on something else. That's why I use the keyword. But nobody's going to do that. So
Right.
I wouldn't worry about it. But it's very polite. You're a very polite podcaster, Sarah. I appreciate that about you. Okay. So we unpacked quite a bit here today. I think this is the stuff, Sarah, that I help people do this, and they come back to me a month later and they go, Adam, my downloads doubled or tripled or whatever. And this is kind of set it and forget it stuff. All right. This isn't a giant deal. Now, if you go with a rebrand, I want you to let your audience know about it. And so just like a really quick protocol is I usually kind of do a 3-step process. So let's say, you don't have to do this at all, but let's say episode 155 is going to be the first episode of the new brand. So episode 153, so 2 episodes before that, I want you to just briefly mention, hey, I'm going to be changing. I'm going to be doing a little bit of a rebrand. And this is like just a off the cuff thing at the end of the episode. Heads up, I'm going to be making a little bit of a change. I'm very excited about it. Tune into next week's episode 154, and I'm going to unpack the whole thing and help you understand what's going on. Then episode 154 is the last episode of the current branding. And you just unpacked all the new things, and you do like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is why we're all excited about it, blah, blah, blah. You give them a heads up. Hey, the next episode you see, it's going to be a different name and the art's going to look different. So they don't freak out on their phone and go, oh, I didn't subscribe to this podcast.
Yeah.
And then episode 155 is the brand new episode. And I've got this down to a science. I help my clients do this. I go, okay, episode 154, that's the last episode of current branding. I want you to wait 72 hours. So if it releases on a Monday, I want you to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning, switch everything. That's when you go on, switch the art, switch the host description, or everything. And then that gives them 3 days to consume that last episode. So they're in the know, they know what happened. And then they've got about 3 days for all the podcast player apps to update before the new episode drops. So that's kind of the sweet spot. So,
And I like that because actually January the 1st is coming up. We're going into a new year. So I've already pre-recorded up to, I think I've pre-recorded up to the 15th and scheduled up to the 15th, but there's no reason why I can't do a little talking to camera and then put it on the end of, say, this coming week's episode on Thursday, which is actually 152. And then talk about it 153, which should have been Christmas Day, but I'm putting it out a day early because I don't think anybody would want to listen. Well, potentially, I don't know if they would want to listen to a podcast on Christmas Day when, Santa's are coming and they've got family and everything else going on. So that's coming out early, but I could interject it in this week's and then next week's and then do the rebrand on the 1st of January.
Yeah. Yeah. And if that works well and it's not stressful for you, go for it. And that would all marry up very nicely. But if not, then just do it on a schedule and a timeline that makes sense for you. If it feels like you're trying to put a round puzzle piece into a square hole, then we don't have to do it on the January timeline. But if it makes sense, if it doesn't stress you out, let's go for it. But I think to me, that would check all the boxes that I would want for you in a rebrand strategy. So if it works, it works. Go for it.
Yeah. With a bit of angst there, I'm not going to lie, but I think the 1st of January, and I've got a podcast episode coming out on the 1st of January. I think that would be a great time because we're into, we're shedding the skin of the snake this year and we're into a brand new year of the horse next year. So things are going to radically change.
Well, and here's the other thing. You are within the overall health niche, right? That's like big umbrella health. Guess what the most popular podcast listening niche is in January of every year? Health, personal growth, mindset, new year, new me stuff. So having all this aligned heading into the first quarter of the year, especially, this could be a rocket ship for growth.
It feels like the right thing to do.
All right. Go use that intuitive sense there. All right. Real quick, shout out your website, social media. Where can people connect to you if they're interested? Maybe they want to have you on their show, whatever. Where can people reach out and connect with you, Sarah?
Thank you, Adam. If you go to my website, www.sarah.dawkins.com, all my socials are there. I'm Sarah Dawkins Health, Sarah Dawkins on LinkedIn. I'm sarah.dawkins.health on Instagram. I'm Dawkins SE on Facebook. I'm Dawkins_Sarah on X. But it's all on my website. People can find me there, and that's the best place.
All right. And that's Sarah with an H at the end. Don't forget that. That way.
And Dawkins, D-A-W.
Yeah, D-A-W-K-I-N-S. Sarah Dawkins. All right, Sarah Dawkins, very proud of you. I'm excited for you. I want you to report back. And when you become rich and famous from these strategies that I've given you, I want to hear back from you. And I'm excited to see what happens. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate you so much.
If you need a little bit of help with your podcast launch, growth, or monetization strategy, head on over to my website, www.podcastingbusiness.school,
and get signed up for a free podcast profit potential discovery call. During this free 20-minute discovery call session, I'm going to analyze your podcasting brand and tell you where I think you're missing on an opportunity for profits. Next, I'm going to tell you exactly what I suggest that you do as your next step. If I've got an offer that would help you accelerate the process, we can discuss working together as well. So head on over to my website, www.podcastingbusiness.school, and click on the Discovery Call button to schedule your free Podcast Profit Potential Discovery Call.